In every generation, God chooses silence before he chooses thunder. Before he moves nations, he moves hearts. Before he delivers people, he calls one soul into holiness. On a quiet night in the wilderness, beneath a sky filled with stars, a shepherd walked without knowing that heaven was watching him. Moses was not a king. He was not a warrior. He was not a prophet in his own eyes. He was simply a man who had failed, fled, and settled for a quiet life. 40 years earlier, he had lived in Pharaoh's palace. Now he lived among sheep. From royalty to rejection, from power to patience, from ambition to obedience. And it was there, in his lowest place, that God found him. Suddenly, the darkness was broken by a holy light, not lightning, not wildfire, but a flame that carried peace and power together. A bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. The fire did not destroy what it touched, it revealed what was holy. This was no ordinary fire. The Bible tells us it was the angel of the Lord appearing in the flame. God was not distant, he was present, near, calling, "Moses, Moses." The voice was gentle yet filled with authority, not the voice of fear, but the voice of destiny. Moses fell to his knees because holiness always humbles. And God said, "Remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." This was not about location, this was about transformation. When God comes near, ordinary ground becomes sacred, and ordinary lives become divine instruments. God introduced himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not a new God, but a faithful God. A God who keeps promises even after centuries of silence. Then God revealed his heart. "I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries. I know their pain." This was not a distant God. This was a God who sees, who hears, who feels. And then came the shocking truth. "I am sending you." Not an army, not angels, not thunder from heaven, but a shepherd. Moses trembled. "Who am I?" he asked. And God answered with eternal wisdom. "It is not about who you are, it is about who I am." History tells us Egypt was the greatest empire of its time. Pharaoh was considered a god, and yet God chose a former prince turned shepherd to confront him. Because God does not need status, he needs surrender. The staff in Moses' hand was a shepherd's tool, but in God's hand, it became a symbol of authority. What you surrender becomes what God uses. The burning bush teaches us something eternal. God's fire does not destroy purpose. It reveals it. It refines. It calls. It sends. Today, we may not stand before a burning bush, but we stand before holy moments every day. Moments when God whispers instead of shouts. Moments when he calls us to forgive, to lead, to serve, to obey. The same God who called Moses still calls hearts, not to comfort, but to courage, not to safety, but to faith. Because every deliverance begins with one obedient soul. Every miracle begins with one surrendered life. And every calling begins when we say, "Here I am." Subscribe for more videos.